Welcome back to the Exit Interview Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Lang. This week we have KU alum and news and information student Joshua McQuade. Josh came to KU as a student of premed and decided to change over to journalism when the work needed for premed was just too much for him to handle personally. He moved over to journalism when he started doing sports, and then he moved more into a role of arts and culture, but then discovered his passion for acting through his work in arts and culture and through acting in student films like Compass Man, which will be linked, of course, in the bio for everyone to watch. Anyways, here is our interview with Josh McQuade, where we talk about his journey through journalism, his decision to change, and a couple of tips on editing.
Are you recording?
Yes,
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, obviously, you are a journalism student who is not doing journalism anymore. Can you tell
Correct.
us your path through finding KU, finding journalism, and finding your way out? Can you kind of just give us a step by step of your path through that?
Like my life story.
Yeah, essentially.
Cool. So I came to KU originally. Um, I've told Cal this story actually before. This is the first time I met Cal was when I told this story to him. I came to KU because when in 2008, when KU was in the March Madness tournament, I bet on them to win money. um, and I won like $100 in the tournament pool. Um, so that's why I decided to come to KU. But I originally came to KU to do pre med, and I did not like pre med at all. It was a lot of work, and I did not want to be in in school for 12 years of my life. I just wasn't ready for that commitment. But during this whole time, I was writing for the Kansan on the sports side, and I liked writing. I liked writing articles. I liked attending events, but I kind of realized sports wasn't much for me. But I did love journalism. So I started my journalism major my sophomore year when I joined the art staff, and kind of definitely made my home there. Um, and that's kind of how I got into the journalism major. Um, God, and where I'm at now, basically. Well, one of my other passions is like working with children and kind of like being a mentor and stuff like that. So I work at Boys and Girls Club now as a site coordinator. Um, this guy over here is my employee, um, shaping the world for the future children, for current children, I guess. Um, so I'm doing that, and I really enjoy it. But I am moving out to LA in like a month to pursue acting, and kind of like probably get a bartending side gig there.
What was the draw to journalism for you as you were first considering leaving pre-med? Like, what was the absolute, like, this is the major for me moment for you?
God, the draw. I really enjoyed um being able to write something to tell someone's story, because like I've always been a storyteller, and I think it's really cool when in like arts you get to write, and sports you get to write features about people, like you get to kind of like highlight the achievements of others and like kind of learn all these awesome stories as well. um like I don't know, I mean, I've interviewed Olympians, I've interviewed like Oscar award winning uh writers, and uh like music legends like Kenny Rogers and Mike Love. Like it's just cool being able to get all these experiences of something probably I wouldn't get if I was just doing like pre-med. I'd be locked in my room. Um, so I don't know. Like storytelling is really kind of what drew me to journalism.
It's interesting that you bring up all these different names of like people that you interviewed, and you going into acting, it just kind of makes me wonder, was there ever a point where you were like, I remember you telling me a story of interviewing Paul Rudd, Rob Riggle. Who else was there in the group? Jason
Paul,
Sudeikis?
Paul Rudd, Rob Riggle, Jason Sudeikis, Eric Stone Street, and David Koechner.
Mhm. Was there ever a point like you going into acting where you kind of realized you didn't want to be interviewing them, and you kind of saw these people that you're interviewing and realizing you wanted to do that? Was there ever a point kind of in your head where that kind of switched over? You know what I mean?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely have done things like Bill Hader, interviewing him kind of definitely um, flipped my switch a little bit. Just kind of like being someone who enjoyed acting and like taking his acting classes and everything and minoring in theater, but not really looking to pursue like theater and acting as a career, but rather journalism. Um, Kind of being able to interview like one of my favorite actors, writers ever, um, really was just like, wow, like this is an awesome story. Like I wish I want to be on the other side of this interview one day.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it was. Like I don't want to just be someone who is telling someone else's story. Like I want to be able to tell a story.
Mhm. What your move into acting, was it at all gradual? Did you do like projects while in journalism school, like acting and theater or anything, while you were still like all in on journalism, or was it kind of like as soon as you knew sort of thing?
I definitely still like was pursuing journalism and like looking for internships and doing other things. Um, like working a few different journalism jobs, helping out, like exploring the industry a little bit, going on tours. Um, but on the other hand, I was like missing some production nights because I had rehearsal for a two-person play I was running and acting in, and then like missing some stuff to film Compass Man. Like,
Yeah,
like
worth it.
I remember filming Compass Man during the summer. I was managing editor for the Kansan, and when I was also a camp counselor at what you call it. It's not Kempa. That's when I was at. Oh, Jayhawk Media Workshop. Um, like we weren't supposed to like leave at night, but I left to go like go at film Compass Man, like season
Mhm.
5 or episode 5. I remember that.
So you
Um,
kind of at all times during journalism, did you kind of have a foot out the door, or was there any point where you were just like all in on journalism? You know what I mean?
oh, there was a lot of times I was like, I mean, I was all in on journalism until probably like like a year before I graduated.
Mhm. Wow,
Um, Honestly, maybe even like 6 months before I graduated. Like,
really?
yeah, I mean, I really wanted a journalism job.
Yeah. What were you
Uh,
looking for the job? Like, what places were you looking at?
like the pitch, but the pitch, like if I wanted to stay close, but the pitch has unpaid interns and like pays their writers shit.
Yeah.
So that was honestly one of the big things too. Is just like I know how much effort you put in to do a journalism job
Yeah.
and to be a journalist.
Yeah.
But I also know like it's just like you get paid garbage. You work so many hours and you just get paid awfully.
Yeah. And this
And
kind of, yeah.
that like scared me. Like I've seen my friends who are journalists get overworked and stressed and like they're constantly doing things and like they don't like they want to pursue different things but they feel like they can't because they don't have the time.
Yeah.
And it's like I have a friend, his name's Aaron Navarro. He's like my childhood best friend. Um, Grew up together and he's at NBC as a as the Senate reporter or no the Congress reporter
Mhm.
um, for NBC, and it's like he also is a rapper, and he does stuff. Shout out Adobo. His name's
Adobo.
Adobo.
I'm gonna add that.
It's really good music. I'll play you some when we get together. But he like he has so little time to produce his music
Yeah.
because he's working in tirelessly. Like they'll be like, "Hey, go to Washington State because this senator, like the Washington State senator, is like doing something there." Like
Do you?
it's so much.
Yeah. And I'm glad we kind of touched on what you loved about what you're doing now, but now it's kind of like time to get into like what you saw as the problems. And I know like a lot of what you talk about is a very common theme of like overworking for very little money, but was there did you ever feel like it just like lined up with who you were as a person and you thought that that was all worth it, or was there ever, do you know what I mean by that question? Do you feel like it kind of lined up with you in your personal life very well and you would be okay with the amount of hours and the amount of pay, or did you always know that that was the thing that would like cause you not to do the career? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. So are you talking about like, is the pay the reason why I don't want to?
Yeah, is that kind of the reason, or are there other reasons?
Um, I mean that's a big reason. Like, I don't know. I want to be able to live life, and I feel like I can't do like really live my life when I'm working at a news station 12 hours a day, getting paid for like 8 of it. Like it's I mean like one of the offers I got, like I would have still had to gone to school, but I got an offer to be uh, the director of a Topeka news station, and kind of like drive to Topeka, come back, like drive to Topeka at like 2 a.m. and then come back like 12 hours later, like every single day while I'm doing school, like,
Yeah.
and only pay me $10 an hour.
Jeez.
It's, I mean, it was laughable.
Yeah.
Like, and like this guy wanted, like, he was like astounded, like, why wouldn't you want this job? I'm like, dude, because you're paying garbage for one of the biggest inconveniences. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of what I've heard within like a lot of the interviews that I've done is just like a lot of people see those jobs as like moving up to something. Did you ever see it as like that being a step forward, or would you just not be able to accept something like that level, even if it leads to something more?
I see, I see that is kind of what people go for. You start in a small market and you hope that to get bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
And it's like, but these news stations have the same people working for them for years.
Yeah.
Like the market is just overset. Like it's huge. I don't know. I just feel like it's really tough to get a new generation of newsmakers and writers and everything because all the jobs are already taken. It's a dying industry, man. Like so many the LJ, like everyone's leaving the LJ. Like new small newspapers are dying unless they become like a part of this giant, like a giant organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Long live Lawrence Times though.
Yeah, I know, because the LJ is bought. I can't remember what organization owns them, but it's just like
I can't remember either.
it's some garbage news organization that wants to push their agenda.
Mhm.
And then you have the Times, which is great, but you know how much work and like funding and like everything that they have to do to make sure they stay alive because they're not a part of a giant conglomerate.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it just sucks, man. And that it just stressed me out because I could never do news because it's like everyone has their opinion, and it's just like if you get into that, it's just fighting. It's fighting constantly, and I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to go back and forth with other news people, and I don't want to have to go back and forth
Yeah.
with sources and like.
Yeah. Speaking of like the culture, did you ever feel like you really fit into like newsroom culture? Did you ever feel like that was really like a place where you could blossom personally?
Yes, and at the Kansan, I mean, I feel like that helped. I mean, that I met some of my best friends through there. Like, I mean, it's awesome. Like, I do love what the Kansan gave me, and I love the opportunities it gave me. Like, I absolutely nothing against the Kansan.
Yeah.
Now, the people that ran it some years different, but I truly did love and felt like I could blossom in a newsroom.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like that's because it's college,
Yeah.
and if you get into the real organization, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, again, I just feel like it's a bunch of veterans in the office right now, like that aren't going to leave their position because they're comfy.
It's our job. Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, I wanted to get into a little more of just kind of the problems you saw personally with your experiences as a journalist, I suppose. Like
What do you mean?
what problems in the industry did you see that have not changed? Yeah, you picked one.
In like the total industry?
And just like the newsrooms you've been a part of and just kind of the culture
Oh,
you've
what personally like I experience in these newsrooms?
yeah, sorry if that was confusing.
Yeah. It's very competitive.
Mhm.
I feel like everyone's trying to like get the best, like they're trying to be the best section and everything. They're trying to like, I don't know. They
Yeah.
think they know what's best, so they're gonna do that. Like I remember I was very, very upset with one of the I guess two of the leaders when I was there. I'll leave them nameless.
Mhm.
But they would always keep everything a secret, and it's like, dude, this is a college news source. Like
Yeah.
I know we do legit news and stuff, but we are all students trying to learn how a newspaper runs. And like you think just because you have this title that means you get to hide something from us that's big?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to tell me that my section has someone cut from it? Like and I don't get to fight for that?
Yeah.
Like they would just make this like people make decisions behind everyone's back because they want what's best. And it's just it's very, very I don't know. Maybe that also might have just been a college thing, but it was just so competitive and so like toxic.
Yeah. Competition is a common theme in like just what they teach us in journalism, just the field of journalism. Do you think this kind of competition is a thing in all career fields, or do you feel like this is very unique to us?
I do feel like it's unique
Mhm.
because a lot is talent. Um, like I don't know, I kind of feel like it's like a sport in a little in a like I could compare it to a sport as like you're writing something and you want it to be like get the most clicks or you want it to like read the best. Like you get awards for writing this stuff. Like you can compete at different like or like giant organizations to get like Pulitzer prizes and like for college what we have the Great Plains stuff. Um, I don't know. It just feels like a sport um,
Mhm.
rather than you go to become a doctor and it's just like oh I went to this school I have this training um, hire me but it's like you need to actually show how good you are in journalism. Like you have a portfolio, like all this stuff, rather than like just a resume. Like they don't care about your resume; they care about your portfolio and like what you've written.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that competition like adds anything to it, like to this.
Toxicity. I mean, I think it adds toxicity.
That's fair. No, I think we've all experienced a little bit of that going through. You and I personally have like talked a lot about the editing process too, and I know like, do you feel that the editing process of like whittling something down to exactly like exact standards that aren't exactly revealed to every reporter, what do you think of the editing process of journalism? Because you and I have talked at length about this, I feel.
I I don't know, man. I just think it's silly to have some of these rules. Like I get it. Like it's gotta look cute, it's gotta look pretty, but then it's just like grammatically, if you're fucking up, if you like um yeah, you said I could swear. Um uh if you're like looking at the tiniest thing, or not the tiniest things, if you're looking like, oh, this is a you need to capitalize, like this is a misspell, blah blah blah. Like that's what editing should be. I don't think you should like go in and be like, oh well, this doesn't follow this like rule. Like you gotta we refer to everyone as doctor instead of their last name. And like you can't use their first or and last name. You have to only use their last name, and like I don't know. It just feels very arbitrary to me.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that as a reporter.
And I so like grammatical editing, I get that, but like
It's hard, yeah.
content editing is like just, hey, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Do this.
Someone once told me like grammatical editing is like sharpening something down to the way it kind of has to be so that people can understand it. But then
Copy editing.
yeah, copy editing. But then content editing is like it makes it really confusing on whose idea you're whittling down ideas,
Yeah.
and you have to decide which idea you whittle it down to.
I mean, it becomes more
Yeah.
than one person's story.
Yeah, which makes it really hard to tell a story if more than one person is telling it. For me personally, yeah, that's why I like one narrator in my books. Mhm. And I was gonna just touch on,
Only one.
yeah, I was gonna touch on.
My book has two narrators. No,
I have five narrators.
one in five. That's it.
They're not even the characters. They're just people who watch them. Yeah,
They're like, oh, nice one.
a nice one. I was gonna touch on just two more short little points before
Okay.
we head out.
Okay.
And one thing was something that I experienced, not to put myself in my own podcast, but like one thing that I experienced, and I kind of wanted to see if you felt kind of the same. I've been kind of testing the waters to some of the people I've been interviewing. But during my time in journalism, it kind of felt like, because obviously journalism is very important to like society and free speech and like a democracy.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel the pressure of like it being so important that like it kind of made you stay in even during the times when you might not have been enjoying it? Did you ever feel that like pressure, that specific pressure?
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Because I don't know. I did like want to be a part of like and like help out kind of like everything that's going on and stuff. Like I remember there was one guy that we did a lot of investigating on, and I helped with some of the investigations. Jai Nitz, like the comic guy, and but he was like sexually harassing a lot of KU students. Um, so like that, in a way, uh, I guess I felt like, oh, like I need to be in this, like I need to help. Um, but then like when I was like, I don't like news, and like I don't really want to do art, and like I don't want to get stuck at doing like movie reviews and stuff.
Just watch the movie.
Yeah, come on, man. You have eyes, you have ears.
Yeah. Always confuse me.
Get Netflix and watch it yourself.
I can't afford Netflix. I can only afford Hulu. And that's on the student discount.
True.
And just as a final wrap-up question, what do you see as the future for people entering the field of journalism? What do you see as where it's headed for how people deal with the stress and deal with the lack of funding?
I I do feel like the stress of that the world right now is putting on journalists
Yeah.
is going to affect it. I feel like not a lot of people are going to want to get into it. I feel like people are going to realize the pay is not good. Especially like I feel like once the minimum wage nationally moves up to 15, people are going to be like, why am I working minimum wage doing a journalism job, a job I went to university for? Like, why do I have a degree in a minimum wage job? I feel like people are going to hit that point. On the other hand, I don't know. I really don't see it like staying alive that long. Uh, Especially since I think print journalism is dead. I think it's like, I think it's struggling. I legit like, I think it's within 10 years. I don't think we're going to have paper journalism.
That's fair. That's how I feel too.
I think we're going to only be like, I don't know, man. People get their news from Twitter now. People get their news from like YouTube. People get their news from Facebook. Oh God,
Yeah.
it
Love that.
journalism. It's rapidly approaching. I need to be the number one. I need to be the first person that reports this, and it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter to the point where it's just like a headline.
Yeah.
And then you read the story, and it says story is developing. It's like, so you didn't have a story. You just put a headline out. You tweeted on your website. Thank you.
Good job.
Like, why was the man on fire? Why was man 65 on fire? Story developing.
So still on fire.
Yeah.
He's slowly going out. Which we did. Yeah. And with that happy note, Josh, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's been real.
It's been real.
That was Josh McQuade talking about his personal experiences and opinions on journalism. And I would like to give one final note on both of our thoughts on journalism that we did not talk about in the podcast. Both of us very much realize the importance of it, but the personal burden of doing something that is not quite aligned with the type of people that we are and the type of work that we want to be doing. Him and I both being very person to person, very loving of working with children, very artistic people, just couldn't find our way through journalism very well. But we still very much, and I have talked to Josh about this many times, we are very happy for the people that can do it. And we are very proud to call ourselves even just journalism retirees, I suppose, or journalism alums. And both of us are very, very happy about the communication and learning about misinformation and critical thinking skills from that we both gained from the journalism school. And in our time there, as Josh said, we both met people that were very important to our journey and people that will stick with us for the rest of our days. And we'll see you on the next episode of the podcast. Thank you. I'm Adam Lane.